the 24th. I just finished welcoming my students onto our virtual classroom. We're going to be starting, this is week number 3. We have a lot to cover this week. Things will get more exciting as we move along, of course, with other material and projects and assignments. So hope you're having fun so far, and let's keep going. All right, so I'm going to share my screen right now. I turn off my camera as well so I can have a better bandwidth. All right, just a quick acknowledgement. If you can let me know that you can see my screen, give me a quick little thumbs up or something like that, just to let me know you can see my screen. Anyone? Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to minimize my window. Okay, so first off, let's talk about the project. So you have a movie poster project that's assigned here. I have it under the calendar. Last week was a little too soon to kind of get you, involved with projects. I wanted to focus on the assignment that was due. So now it's time to look at the projects and assignments as well that's coming up. You have one assignment, the one project. These things you can do some of the assignments even in class as you're following me along with the exercises. The project is going to be done on your time. So I think 2 weeks might be enough to do this one. It's going to be a movie poster. So I think 2 weeks is sufficient. I might do a slight extension. I think it's only fair that I give you a few extra days. So for example, today's Wednesday, and the project is due 2 weeks from now, but I'm going to give you till the end of the week. So technically you get 2.5 weeks. Okay, that's kind of like the best I can do for that. So that should be ample amount of time for you. If you do have any problems with meeting the deadline, let me know. It's your first semester. I try to go easy on my students and keep you more, slowly integrated into the system and everything that we have to do. So just speak to your teachers if you have any issues with these deadlines and stuff. We'll do our best to accommodate you, but we do also have to run a tight schedule as well. So it's like a good balance of both. All right, let me get into the project here. So if you go down to the main projects, okay. By the way, I got to see a lot of you did hand in the color abstract exercise, so that'll be graded very soon. You should get a mark by the end of the week. The next one, I'm going to have it visible to you. This is after today, we're going to tackle this one. It's the photo restoration. That one we're going to look at a little later on. So that's there as well. Right. So the movie poster. So I'm going to extend it right now. So instead of it due on February the 7th, which is 2 weeks from now, I'm just going to give you a few extra days. I do want you to do a good job on this one. So it's going to be due on the 11th, which is Sunday. It gives you the weekend as well. All right, so that's extended for you. So let's talk about the movie poster project a little bit. I also like to show you some student samples in the past of what they have done for this particular project. Not to mention there's a lot of competitions and a lot of design challenges out there in regard to this type of theme. This is a very popular and a hot theme to work on, like a movie poster project. A lot of designers and movie enthusiasts find it very, very interesting to embark on this creative journey. And creating your own movie poster should be fun, and you should find it quite intriguing. I'm sure all of us love some type of movies, right? There's a website called Talent House that we used to use a few years ago. This one was a good hub for poster competitions. Apparently, there's no longer competitions. Last time I checked, it wasn't really. Let me just see here what they have. It's been a while since I checked this website. This was even pre-COVID. We had this. See, even their website's like broken and stuff. I'm pretty disappointed. This was a really, really big website with a lot of things that were happening. This is the business end of it. Let's just go to talenthouse.com. Yeah, it keeps going to business. Anyhow, I would use this website. There was a lot of competition and a lot of different submissions for movie posters and stuff. There's a few glimpses. I don't know if you saw it there. Let me see under work, perhaps. Maybe it's here somewhere. Yeah, I'm gonna have to dig through this. You can have a quick look if you like. Let me just see here. The Talent House. Yeah, I think they shut it down. Let's see, collaborate now. Right. Okay. Anyhow, no worries. We don't have to use this. Some students found it useful. A lot of them didn't even bother. It was just a good little way to compete and see other competitors with upcoming movies, current movies that are trending and stuff. It was on this site. I can find some other resources for you, or if you find some yourself, let us know. I'd be happy to maybe, put your work forward, because it's nice to engage in these type of competitions. And since you're learning the software and some of you already have a Photoshop background, it'll be a good way to keep you more engaged with the competitive aspect. Okay, so back to this movie poster project. You'll be designing a poster which will promote an event or a movie. So I put the event there because a lot of times we had the Pan Am Games last time in Toronto. We have the Olympics, a lot of other events that are happening. So some people wanted to create an event poster instead of a movie poster. So I put that in there, but I know the title says movie poster. So most, like 90% of my students do a movie poster. So let's stick with that theme. Showcasing in the near future. You will utilize all the main Photoshop Creative Cloud application tools for image editing and background textures alongside other design methods to complement the overall presentation. You may also incorporate Adobe Illustrator. So I know you have a composite assignment coming up, and you also have typography with the other course there. So it's nice to integrate some typography skills in the movie poster. It's integral that you do have a good title and typography involved with this design. So for logos and type treatment, it might definitely help you. And I will show you how to bring in Illustrator files into Photoshop. It's quite simple and straightforward. So check out the criteria points below to get a better breakdown of the criteria expectations. So this is basically a simple criteria I like to give students to somewhat, so they get a clear understanding of what's required. So things like minimum of 5 different image sources, theme related. There's a lot of image websites. I'm going to point you to gather these sources, not necessarily Google. I know we all like to use some Google images, but there's Pixabay, Pexels.com. There's the other one called okay, it escapes my mind right now. But there's a few sources out there that I can definitely point you to get some of these image websites. Okay, I think I have a list somewhere as well. All right, so that's some of them there. Unsplash is another popular one. Okay, some technical uses include clipping masks. This is when we get into the more advanced use of the program. So I'm gonna have to cover some basic clipping masks, layer masks, and quick masks. If we don't cover clipping masks in time, I definitely want you to throw in some layer masks and quick masks. That we'll cover by next week or the week after. So we are going to be using the program in a more advanced way. So clipping masks, eventually we're going to learn all these advanced modes in Photoshop. Other suggested items may include symbols and layer styles or effects. Okay. The color model would be CMYK, because we are going to be approaching this for a print design. A lot of posters need to be printed and put across the billboards. I know there's a lot of digital billboards now, so you could easily convert it to RGB or CMYK. But since I want to teach you how to do a proper press setup for the printer, we're going to be following the CMYK criteria. Resolution is going to be 300 dots per inch, and this is optimal for printing. This is what we want to gauge it at. Anything less would be not as print friendly or good quality considered. Even 200, I think, for a poster for a student project might be okay if you want to compensate for the images that you get online, because I know sometimes the quality of images on the internet are not as adequate as professional images that are taken by a photographer and supplied to you by a creative house. The size will be 17 by 11 inches. This is if you take two sheets 8.5 by 11, which is considered a letter size. If you put those side by side, you will get the tabloid, which is 17 by 11. This is a standard size. If you were to print this in real life and go to Staples or some other print house, it's very inexpensive. It might cost you like even $1 or $2, no more than a couple of dollars, to print this and put it in your portfolio. So I am trying to itemize this as a portfolio piece that you might showcase in the future as well. It's a nice creative design. A lot of students do put this in their portfolios. It does showcase your Photoshop skills, and it is one of your first of the two main projects that you're going to be creating for this semester. The other project will be the book cover, and that's going to be introduced during the reading week. The file management will include you converting a Photoshop to a PDF document for print ready. I'm going to put down like print ready format with the CMYK here. Photoshop doesn't handle bleeds too well in terms of the crop marks and bleed marks. I will take this a step further and show you how to do a proper print setup, okay, like using InDesign or Illustrator to get the final PDF setup. But just saving a Photoshop to PDF for you will do just the trick and will meet the criteria. This is the website I showed you earlier, the talenthouse.com. So as I showed you earlier, it did change based on what it was. Maybe I should just take the link out. There's no point. I was hoping they would revisit their design challenges again and have something showcasing. But as I checked right now, it was to no avail. There was nothing happening. Just like a rubric that we have for the small assignments, you get a very simple, out of 3, you might get like 2.5, 2 or 3 out of 3 in most scenarios. We try to keep our grading system in check. Not too strict, we're pretty kind of like, I guess, in the median level with this. So the criteria, like most design rubrics are set up this way. We have a criteria for meeting all the expectations and requirements. We have a technical breakdown based on if you covered all the technical aspects of the project. For example, like, did you name the layers properly? Did you set up folders and groups and proper management and file management and some of the other techniques that were itemized here in the criteria? And of course, overall comes the creativity, and that's quite discretional. I know it's very, very difficult to do a creative type of assessment, but we do our best and we try to be fair in all aspects. So all these 3 things equate to the total of your mark. Okay. So good luck and have fun. I always put that in one of my final sayings there. One of my favorite teachers used to do that. Anyhow, this is, I'm just going to see what else is here. So I did the due date here. You do have 2 attempts. I like to keep it 1 attempt. 1 attempt meaning I don't want people to hand in 2 different assignments. It gets really confusing. So unless you really, really make a mistake and you want to do a second attempt, you can let me know. But I like to keep this nice and simple and just keep it as a 1 attempt file so I don't get the wrong file that I'm going to assess. I think it's already changed, so I'm going to leave it at 2. That's fine. I'll leave it at 2. Try to do 1 attempt, please. This way you don't confuse the submissions. I have a good number of students to grade as well. Like, there's a good handful of you. And don't forget, I have other classes as well. So naming your files properly, submitting your files, very important, and keeping it all together. Even a zip file would be adequate. All right. To submit the file, if you haven't done already, you go down here with the submission. There's a different view on your screen. You hit the submit button and you submit the assignment or the project. Okay. So this goes for all your classes as well, not just mine. And it should be pretty straightforward. All right. So this is how it is. And this is the rubric that I have set up for you here. right? So there's the creativity, technical criteria. So it's 40, 40, 20. That's the actual split. Which, again, I think this is a little messed up because it should be 4, 4, and 2, which is the breakdown 40, 40, 20 instead of these numbers. I don't know what happened here, guys, to be honest with you. Maybe the numbers got mixed up as we transfer the files. I will correct this, by the way, okay? All right. Any questions about this project? Because this is pretty straightforward. You can pick any movie poster. A lot of students ask me, can I do a video game poster? I'm sure a lot of books and video games have been converted to movies, and as long as you have some fun and meet the criteria, I'm okay with either or. But preferably movies is nice. I'm sure you all have your favorite movie, even in a movie that's already been designed for like a movie poster. You can definitely have an attempt to do a redesign. So let me just turn the mic over to you. If you have any questions so far, I'm going to pause for a second and see if I can answer some questions. All right. And I will check you from time to time, check my list here to see if you guys have any questions. All right. Any questions, anyone, so far? Would you like to see some student examples of this project? I'll show you some past examples. Yeah, I'm sure you do. All right, very good. So I will make a point. Why don't we do that near the end so it doesn't disrupt the way I had structured the lesson and stuff. So maybe I'll do that afterwards, okay? Afterward, just remind me if I forget. Sometimes I do cover too many things and I get overwhelmed with my own stuff sometimes. So we'll try to remember to show you near the end of the lesson once we finish everything. I finish my whole presentation, and then I can definitely show you some samples. And then we'll wrap it up, and hopefully we'll have some time for you to maybe get some work done as well. All right. Okay, so let me minimize this as well. Okay, so having said that, you should be able to access this right now. It is visible to you. Let's go back to the class modules. I'm going to make this visible also. This is Module 3, Advanced Selections and Document Assembly. From the introductory class, the first week, we just got a quick little tour of Photoshop. Last week was a very important lesson. We covered selections and more like intermediate selections. I believe I covered all the selection tools in Photoshop. Not all the methods, but the tools. So the tools as they're set up on the left side there, we did a lot of those different techniques and tools involved, of course, to get it done. I didn't get a check to revisit this, but now that I'm looking at it, I really love how all of you, I love the Nike logo there, Sungyun, very nicely done. And I love how you guys all did your own version of this stuff. Really cool, nice job, nicely done. Very good, very good. So you can see a lot of you partaked into this nice exercise, and we'll have some fun. And I like this handout because it covers all the steps, and you have like an actual PDF that's being the Adidas logo too. So you got the brand names happening. Very good, very good. See, they all look similar, but they're different in their own way. Because whether especially this one really stands out, right, Ash? Good way of like resizing, rescaling different things, right? Have some fun there. Very good. Nicely done, everyone. And if those of you who haven't submitted anything yet, try to maybe next time participate into the class activities. It does show me that you are doing a good job following my instructions, and I'm doing a good job delivering my instructions as well. All right, excellent. So we will do these challenges from time to time, maybe not every week, but we'll try to do it more frequently, okay? All right, so let's get down to business now with the module 3. This is, I'm going to make this exercise visible to you. These are the exercise files used in the lesson. You should be able to access them right now. So if you want to go ahead and access these while I'm showing you to you, go ahead. I'll give you time to click on the link. Completed, finished. Oh, these are all the finished files. So maybe, you know what? Let me just investigate these quickly, because sometimes when I update these files, I want to make sure they're not the completed files. So let me just check one of them out here. And if it's done, I'm going to point you to the lesson anyways. This way you can create this from scratch. I'm just going to go to the desktop here. See the finished version. Let me see this one. All right, while I do that, let me see this one here as well. So just hold on a second. Don't download these yet. I'll point you to a different location, because these are, again, last semester, we're doing the same lessons here. I don't switch them up all the time. So it looks like this one is done. Okay, so do me a favor. Please don't download these. I'm just gonna delete them, honestly, and I'll upload the ones that are not finished, because these are finished, and then you're gonna just get more confused. So I do apologize. It's just what I do for the students is sometimes they request me to give them the finished files, and I think I did that for my students last semester. So I'm just gonna delete this file, okay? And I'm going to add the new files that we need for today, which are located under your resources. At the very bottom of this class, you will get a resource folder. And the resource folder has all the different resources that I have available for you. One is the Photoshop PDF tutorials, which we're not gonna really use that much until maybe later on. I like to point a few things here and there, but that's for you to keep, my gift to you. Layers and selections is something we're definitely going to use. And this is just a quick Photoshop tools, quick tips menu. So it's not that many items, but there's quite a bit of stuff in this one. So if you download this one, as I instructed you last week, because last week I do recall us using the selections folder. So if you haven't, do this now. If you did it last week, then you don't have to do it again. You just have to access the resources, which are located right over here. I'm just going to delete these files. All right, we're going to go to right. So this is last week. This is this week. So I do have my folder prepared for you. So what I'm going to do is just zip this and apply it there. So I'm going to just compress it right now, just in case you don't have it. All right. And those of you who have the whole, selections folder, right? You have class 1, class 2, class 3. You can just open the class. Sorry, which one was it again? I do apologize. L1, L2, L3. These are lessons. I combined these 3 lessons into the 3rd class. So if you can just follow me along, even if it's easier, I'll just send you these right now. You can just open them as they are. But all this is condensed into your selections folder, which looks like this. You have L1, then you have L2, L3, L4. So if you open it up, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you don't have the folder, I'm just going to upload this right now, so you can just download this file. Just make it easier for you. So let me just do that quickly. I'm going to go to module number 3. I'm going to add that right now. Just uploaded and go to the Humber folder. Oops, Humber main. Gotta go to the desktop here. I have too many shortcuts. All right, here we go. So I'm going to go back here. Number fall. Winter, yeah, it's in the fall folder. All right, subfolders and subfolders. So I'm going to upload it right now. All you have to do is download this zip file, unpackage it, and you should be good to go. Or use your other folder from last week, whatever is easier for you. All right, I'm going to just call it class 3.zip. Okay, and it's going to be visible, so you can go ahead and just download this zip file here, and you should be able to access the files. All right. Upon you clicking this file and downloading it, you will get these folders that show up like this. It's going to go to this folder here. You will have lesson 2, lesson 3, and lesson 4. One is called cutouts, and this will pave the way for us to learn how to amalgamate, multiple documents. It's a really good exercise to know how to do that. Even get familiar with some of the docking system Photoshop has to offer. Another important thing I like to mention is the steps. So this has all these nice steps, just like the previous one. Selecting and masking. This is a really good intermediate selecting and masking approach to various images, and transferring information from one image to another. Okay, so that's also important, applying to a new image. So we're going to cover all these steps. I'm also going to teach you another very popular method to use a color range selector as opposed to some of the tools that we covered last week. See, the more you know, the better it is for you to learn Photoshop. Some people stick to one or two methods all the time, but there's some methods that work better than others. It depends on the situation and the scenario and the image that you're working with, the resolution. Everything is taken into account. All right, so let's go ahead and open these two files first. How do we open multiple documents at the same time? I'm just gonna select both of these together like this, right click, open them with Photoshop. Okay, you can do that, or you can use Photoshop to open the files individually from the program. You simply have to go to Photoshop and just go to File, Open, and you can open one at a time. When Photoshop opens multiple documents, it's going to look like this. They're different tabs, just like something on your browser. I'm just going to press Command plus or Control plus to zoom in closer. So as you can see, these images are separate. Okay. If I was to teach you Photoshop 15 years ago, well, it's been that long, I guess. I'm going to go back to CS4 before the Creative Cloud came up. There was a Creative Suite. If some of you date that far back with using the software, you'll know what I'm talking about. Photoshop didn't have this type of docking interface design. Photoshop was more like based on floating windows. And if you have an older version of Photoshop, again, you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to undock this file, just drag it away like this, click and drag, and this is a floating window. Same thing I'll do with this file. So as you can see here, I just undocked these two documents, and Photoshop used to kind of look like this back in the day. So everything you open, it looked like a separate window. And that's how we use Photoshop. And even this was floating, you see, this was floating, the palettes were floating, everything was floating. And it was fine until a lot of people got disorganized, and sometimes you lose this over here and this goes over here and stuff. So I guess not just the tablets and the phones and some of the minimal screens to keep it all nice and tidy. Photoshop and other Creative Cloud programs, not just Photoshop, to keep the menus and tools all kind of organized in a docking fashion. So to dock these items back, basically, you don't have to do this, by the way, just showing you. I'm going to simply drag this tool here and just hit this corner. And you notice how it's going to highlight. I got to go a little further. This doesn't do it. I got to go all the way here. As long as the mouse points the edge. Notice how I have a blue highlighted area. That means the indication is that the tools will dock and it'll move with the application, which means if you resize the program based on your monitor resolution, it's going to keep it nice and together. Same as these windows here. If I click and drag the mouse like this, see how it fades out and it highlights blue, it docks back into place. That means the other one is lost right now. It's hard to find. My tip to you is go under the window menu and you can find all your open documents from here, right to the bottom. So it's called jump.psd. There it is. I'm going to do the same thing, drag and dock. Okay. Now, why would you want to undock the window, right? Well, one thing is traditionally a lot of people, I remember my friends would call me like, hey, what happened to the windows? I can't drag and drop anymore, because people think they can just, let's just say this was undocked. You want to drag this image here, you simply go drag and drop, right? And that's how you would move images together. And that works fine, but now with this new system, it's not as easy. And a lot of people don't feel comfortable like doing this dragging window thing that I'm showing you. So I'm going to teach you ways to do it without undocking the windows and how to do it with docking the windows. So either way, you can do this quite easily. So if you want to just drag and drop, that's fine. But let's just delete this image here. For argument's sakes, I'm going to pretend we can undock the windows. And also, it's more precise if you, these steps here, I don't think they cover the window docking and undocking. That's just me throwing some extra material at you here. Just kind of see here if there's ways to, right. So I don't even think this talks about what I'm showing you right now, but that's just a good way for you to know the interface. We're going to do the color range next. So I'm going to go through the steps just to kind of cover this part here. So again, don't worry about the dragging and dropping stuff. Let's just follow the steps and then we'll get it done that way. All right, let's focus on this image first, because as you can see here, from last week, we were using the magic wand, the quick selection tool, and all the other methods to select the background or parts of the image or parts of the color. In this case, we want to select like the background. And if you notice the magic wand, a lot of people will kind of say use the magic wand. You can select the background layer, and you can see it selects only part of it, not the whole thing. See, it selects this blue, then that blue. Based on the tolerance, you can increase that or decrease it. Then again, of course, if you go click and you hold shift, you can definitely select the background that way as well. Okay, it took me 3 clicks to do that. I'm going to deselect by clicking over here. Rather than using the magic wand, sometimes you might have like a more complicated color selection to go through. I'm going to show you how to integrate the color range technique. So this is a very popular, method that's in the program. What you do is when you have the image open, you're going to go to the select menu, because the objective here is to make a selection of the background. And we're going to apply what's called a color range. And this is a very popular method. It works in many aspects. So this is just one example. I'll show you some other future methods later on. So if I do color range right now, it's going to give me this other palette, which represents a thumbnail of me selecting parts of this image. In this case, I want to select this background. So I'm going to target this light blue color here. If you notice when I do that, it gives me like a preview of this black and white, showing me what's being selected and what's not. Okay. So by me clicking here on the actual image, keep this window, I suggest you keep it away in the corner somewhere so you can kind of see this at the same time. If I click here, and if I hold the shift key, notice how it gives me the little plus sign on my eyedropper. I can then click on this other range of blue. And if I keep holding shift and I click on this very, very light blue, I can select the entire background that way. You see, just by doing 3 clicks. Another popular way is to just hold the shift key and go click and drag the mouse all the way across. This way grabs your range of colors. I'm very methodical and strategic not to select parts of this target here. Our goal is to select the stunt rider with the bike. So the best way is to select the background, isolate that as a selection, inverse the selection. That's something else I'm going to get into. Copy these pixels, paste them into the other document. So that's the strategy here. This shows you a clear thumbnail of what's being selected. The white represents the selection. The black represents not being the selection. It's like an inverse. You can, of course, select what's called invert. You can always invert the selection this way. Gives you the black and white or white to black, whatever you prefer as a preview. I'll just leave it at default. All right. So once we have a clear representation of the white and the black in terms of what's being selected, I'm going to click the OK button. And the fuzziness, again, just controls the range. I, again, leave it at default for now, unless you get very specific. You can definitely control more or less of the pixels. So I'll leave it in the 30s or 40s for now. Once you click the OK button, what you'll notice is a selection of the background. A lot of people get this confused thinking what's being selected, the target or the background. A clear indication of what is you can follow the edges. Once you see the edges being selected the way they are, you see how there's like a little border selected. That means you know for sure the background is being selected. If you do what's called select inverse, inverse means the opposite. You're inverting the selection. You'll notice now something different occur. It'll be the actual target that's being selected. So notice how the background is no longer selected, but the target is. That's a very simple step that most Photoshop designers like to do. Like if let's say the background was like white, you can just click on the white background, select inverse, and your target is selected just like that. So you can keep inversing back and forth. See, inverse, and there's only like a switch on and off. Inverse, 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 inverse. There's a shortcut affiliated with this. It's Command-Shift-I because it's so popular. A lot of people just use the shortcut, including myself. That's how you can control what's being selected. Now, I like it being selected as the background, and I'll tell you why, because the next step gets into quick masking. And quick masking is an advanced method of selecting, of perfecting the selection using like a paint mode. And the paint mode is using different brushes, and Photoshop is really, really good at utilizing its brush techniques. All you have to do is, so it says here inverse, edit in quick mode, and I'll show you where this little button is and the shortcut as well with it, and the size of the brush and so on and so forth. So this technique is unmatched by any program. This is what Photoshop does best. You do the color range selection, and you look over here. That's why I like my tools to be selected this way, the two columns, so you can easily see this little button here and a shortcut with the letter Q. Now, please don't press Control Q because that'll quit your application. Just Q by itself. If you press the letter Q on the keyboard, it'll activate this little button, and it'll make this look like it's like a reddish pink color. That's because the default mask is 50% red. So if you do anything with the quick mask, it's going to give you that resemblance. Now let me just press Q. And Q is like a switch on and off. So when you press Q, Photoshop even indicates here that you're in quick mask mode. It's a whole new different world in Photoshop. Whereas if you press Q again, you're in normal standard mode, which just shows you just RGB and the bit depth and stuff. So please be aware of this stuff. It's very important you're consciously aware of either you're in standard mode or quick mask mode, right? Now, if your selection's inversed, if you do select inverse, so you're selecting the target and not the background, and you press Q, you'll get an opposite reaction. You'll get the background instead of the target. I find this very hard to control because it's hard to differentiate what's selected and what's not. Some people like it. A lot of the tutorials maybe on YouTube you watch, they might do this method here. I prefer to focus on the target because you'll be doing a lot of painting on the background as opposed to the target. It also depends on the color. Sometimes this might work good in other scenarios. In this particular scenario, I much prefer to do it as the background. So I'm just going to press Q again, select inverse, and I'm just going back and forth here to explain things. So I have the background clearly selected. Now I'm going to press Q. And you can clearly see how this is only selected in red. Just to go over this default red color, notice how it's red here, like the background layer is red. Quick mask is selected. Another one, this button is pressed because that's like pressing Q. If you double click on this little button here, it'll give you the actual default red 50% opacity color that I mentioned earlier. So if you do have like strawberries or a red apple or something, even this red over here might conflict with the color. You can always change it to a different color. Let's say go with green, for example, because I see a lot of blue here. You don't want to go with blue. I'll go with this bright green color. Now it's going to be 50% green. Once I press OK and I press Q, you'll see how it just changed the default color to green. I do like the default red, so I'm just going to change it back very quickly. But for you to know, and changing it on your own is important. So I thought I'd show you that. I'm going to double click again and change this to a 50% red. So you can just leave it alone. You don't even have to do this part. These are extra things I demonstrate aside from the, the handout here. Like, doesn't mention half the stuff I'm showing you. So it's a good way to show up to class and follow my steps, as you can learn a lot of new things along the way. So again, pressing Q activates quick mask mode. And what that means is, if you zoom in now, I'm pressing Control plus or Command plus on the Mac. What that means is, if you use a brush, again, B for brush, there's your shortcuts for the day today. Q, quick mask mode, B for brush. Make sure you're in the actual brush tool, like the default brush tool, because this gives you, well, look at the brush size. It's pretty big because I have it on 400. Make sure this is set to like 20, 30, 40, something like that, pixels. Make sure the hardness is set to like maybe like 85, 80, 90, something like that, right? 85, 36. This way the brush size will be quite notable and you can actually see where it's going. Oops, I think I erased the accent there. Another thing, make sure this is black and white. So one way to ensure that this is black and white, you press D on the keyboard. D is default. So D for default, Q for quick mask mode, and V for brush. So if you can remember those shortcuts today, that'll be awesome. So another way to control your brush size is with the square brackets beside the letter P, like, like O, P on your keyboard, there's those curly brace brackets, left and right. There's also the square brackets. That also controls your brush size. I love to use those because it's so handy and very easy. Okay. Make sure caps lock is off. If it's on, you won't see the brush size. This happens quite a bit. It's frustrating. Like, what happened to my brush size? Because your caps lock key is on. If you turn it off, then you can see the brush size. So these are all very simple things, but they could cause frustration if you're not used to it or if you can't control it. So I'm making sure I'm covering this thoroughly and you're aware of these things. Right. So black is on top of the white. That means black's my foreground color, which means I can go in there and get the areas that we missed, which is this blue part here and this blue part over here, because notice the blue did conflict with my earlier selection. If you do accidentally surpass the area like this, so you don't want this to be part of the selection, right? Because you see that becomes a selection when I press Q. So to omit this as part of the selection, you simply press X. Sorry, one more shortcut. X switches your colors. So the foreground color becomes the background color becomes the foreground. Having white as a foreground color acts as like an eraser, which means you can erase the masked area. So you can really, really perfect all your stuff. This is the most favorite method. Even today, even all these new fancy tools, designers still prefer quick masking. It's like the #1 ultimate control method of selecting. This is week 3, and I'm already showing you how to use the power or harness the power of selections using quick masking. Be careful not to do this because I just took that out for a second. I just press X, bring black as the foreground color, and simply go over my selected areas. And this will ensure all my parts are selected. And when I talk about details, I mean details. Look, no way you're going to get these little parts selected with the tools because the resolution is not the greatest. So I'm going to go zoom right out. Even you can select the pencil tool. That's another good way. The pencil is it's a 1 pixel type of tool. You can just go and draw a straight line to get these spokes on the bike. Now, I don't know about you, but drawing straight lines is hard sometimes, especially if you don't have a mouse. By the way, make sure you use a mouse for this stuff. Otherwise, it's hard to use a trackpad. One best way to connect the dots is holding Shift. So if you click here and you press Shift, click once first, then hold Shift and click on the other side. What you do is you'll connect the line. I'll do back and forth. Maybe I'll do Shift, click, and click back. Shift, click to draw a straight line. And this will ensure all the fine little details and pixels are gathered. You might do like, I don't know, pets are very hard, like hair and stuff, whiskers on a cat. Who knows how many little hair lines you might miss on a very tedious selection. So this will ensure that all the parts and pixels are gathered and selected just by you holding Shift and grabbing these little pixels. Because look, it's very hard to Photoshop to pick this up, right? So this is why we're using this method to get everything done. Now, I don't mean for you to go all out like this, but just to show you the power of quick masking and how much control one can have. You know, this is exactly what we're up against, right? Same thing here. This one's got nothing here. So shift click. I'm going to grab some of these as well. Right? Shift click, right? Like I said, I don't have to go all out here, but just to show you some of the stuff that Photoshop doesn't even pick up, even AI, like, you know, like, I mean, this is all human intervention here, right? The computer can't even pick this stuff up. We have to do it. That's why you're the last line of defense, your eyes and your own perception. Once we're finished perfecting our selection here, I'm ready now to exit quick mask mode and press Q and go back to standard mode. And I'm just going to press Q again, just like that. And you'll see my selection totally intact. And selecting, again, what am I selecting, the background or the target? I believe I'm selecting the background. But because I loved this technique so much, I prefer to do it this way. All I have to do now is do select inverse. And this will select my target, which is the stunt rider with the bike, as opposed to the background. Because if you don't do this, what can happen is if you press edit copy, it'll select everything else but your target, which means if you copy and go over here and you paste, click on the move tool here, it's going to paste the wrong thing. So be very careful to do select inverse, right? Copy the right stuff. That's why I like to, like, if you're zoomed in, it's hard to see. You want to zoom out, make sure the edges are clearly defined and visible, and you can see nothing is selected. You press copy, you go back to this document, and you can press, and when you paste, by the way, always be in the move tool, because you want to be able to, we're going to move layers and arrange things around just like we did last week. I'm going to press Command or Control V to paste, and this will paste those pixels into this layer. This is the best way to amalgamate, you know, various documents or bring in images into other images, create a composition or a montage, which is, it's going to pave the way for the movie poster. Next week, we'll do like a poster design. So I'm going to aid you into getting this thing kind of started and stuff. So we'll get the poster started next week. I'm giving you a little bit of a head start because this way you can plan, gather sources, gather ideas, get images. That's a preparation phase. That alone itself takes time too. So if you can prepare that for next week, have an idea of your movie poster, gather some images, some sources, some ideas, fonts, everything, colors. And next week when we build the poster, you can just get started and get it done because you have another week and a half after that. Once I pasted this now, what I need to do next is maybe resize it, perhaps reposition it, maybe even rotate it. So as soon as you paste something, let's name this bike, right? I'm going to select the bike and go to an edit, free transform. Remember this from last week? We did this to do a lot of different transformations. In this case, it does all in one. If you grab the corner, you might have to hold shift. You might not. I don't know the way your preferences is set up. Me, I got to hold shift. I think you don't have to hold shift. You can just scale it up and down like this. If you go outside the edge, you can do what's called a rotate. So you can do lots of interesting things with the transform tool while we copied and pasted the document. Okay. And once that's done, you can press the enter button to acknowledge or escape to cancel. Escape to cancel or enter to OK. And once that's done, you can clearly see here how we brought in pixels from one document, used a very clever selection method. We used select color range, and then we integrated a quick mask method to perfect the selection, copy the right pixels, and paste them into the other document. And this is like the finished version. So I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to call this, instead of start, jump, we'll call it underscore, you know, done or finished, just to kind of keep it separate from the original file. And I'm always going to save the Photoshop file because this is how we save all the work files. And I'm just going to close this down. Don't save. and pause for a second, see if you have any questions. Maybe some of you did get stuck along the way. Let me know. But pretty straightforward here. I believe I covered all the steps here, especially with the quick masking part. And then we basically copied and pasted it, right? Another one, it's saying drag and drop. I'll teach you another way to drag and drop it, but I prefer to copy and paste it for now. I don't like to move the documents back and forth with the docking system, right? So this is everything I did right now in this video that if you're watching and this is recording, you can just follow the steps, or just, if you like to read, you could, or you can just watch my video and do it hands-on. And this first folder is taken care of, finished. All right, so how's everyone doing? Let's see if you guys have any questions. I'm gonna go back here. All right, we got some nice thumbs up from Amir and Abhinav and Shaknoza, and I think everyone else is doing okay. All right, very good. Got to keep you engaged and keep you going. I know it's nighttime and stuff. Tell me something. Are most of your classes in the evening, or do you have like day classes as well, or it's kind of all over the map? Give me thumbs up if I'm the only night class that you have. I'll call it the evening class because it starts at 6.
Our classes start at 3 p.m. and then tend to end at 8:45.
Like, you have other classes that are in the evening time as well?
Yeah, our other classes start at 3 and the other ones at 6. So yeah, they're in the evening.
Okay, all right. Like that's because you have there's another section that started in the fall, and I guess with the way it's lined up with the classes, that's why they give you guys a later schedule, which is okay. You guys have to maybe get some things done in the daytime in the morning. Sometimes it takes a while to get used to new schedules. I hope it works out in your fit as well, right? All right, so by now maybe you're used to it already, just like I am. Tomorrow I have a class from 7 till 10 in the evening. Okay, and I got to be in the IGS building, so it's kind of like, it's a little late, but it's okay. I'm getting used to it. Uh, it's kind of good. I get a lot of things done in the daytime, especially if you have like a job or you work. You can kind of you can do your job in the daytime, or get a new job if you want to do that. You're more flexible, and then you can do your classes later on. Okay, so let's go ahead. Any questions about this exercise we just finished? Okay, we're good. All right, let's go ahead and proceed with the next one. So the next one is more technical. I'm going to get into that in a moment. It's the other folder. It's called the lesson 3, select CAS. And this also has written instructions. All right, it tells you how to do the content aware scale tool. This is when AI was first introduced in Photoshop, and you can do a lot of the AI that's built into the program. Photoshop's able to differentiate subjects and backgrounds, and it can do some amazing things. But with the help of you propelling Photoshop, doing the right stuff, with some of these techniques and tools, you can even take it to the next level and do a better job. So this is going to help you kind of learn how to do that. And there's another one. This is without help, and this is with help. So you can kind of see how this works. All right, so let's go ahead and get to this. I'm not going to read through this. I'm just going to show you how it's done. So just open this file here, and you can see an image here of let's call it a getaway, those destination weddings or a bridal party, and these young, men and women are walking on the beach. I'm going to put this file away here, right? And you can see here how they're all kind of huddled together. But see, she's a little further apart on the left. So what we're going to do here, let me open up the guides under view. Show guides. These are also important shortcuts. a command, apostrophe or semicolon or colon, you can use those, right? So if you do the command semicolon, okay, or colon, you can kind of get the guides to show up like this. Okay, so command semicolon, right? And if you were to do, and notice how this layer is already selected. If I'm going to do edit, free transform, and my goal was to kind of squeeze the image within these parameters here, like these guides, the vertical guides. Obviously, if you do something like this, what can happen is you're stretching the entire image. So this is like a no-no in photography and you image editing stuff in Photoshop. You don't want to just stretch or squish the image. It'll not only distort the pixels, it'll also make the people look a little distorted, as you can see, quite a bit, right? I'm going to press escape right now because that's not the right thing. So they invented a new method that's called, instead of just transform or free transform, you have what's called content aware scale. So content aware scale, the way it works is if you were to squeeze the photo, Photoshop's AI built-in capabilities is able to differentiate the subjects from the background. It's got an algorithm. So if you do it this way, right, it's not perfect because if you go all out, of course, it'll do that. But if you go to some degree, it will maintain the proportions of the subjects, which is the people, right? But it's not perfect because you see the waves are rough, first of all, depending on the background. You can see the hand over here is being clipped. So it's a glitch with the way the pixels are transformed. So it's not always perfect. And I'm going to teach you a way to prevent this from happening. So have more control when it comes to these things. Even the hand over here, the arm is clipped as well. So it's good to integrate these AI tools, but even I used AI to generate images with, Jasper and some of these other engines out there. The fingers always look off and wrong and stuff. And you can try different prompts with fingers and stuff. It's still not there. Okay. This still has a lot more work to do with AI generating images. Same as this. I mean, look, it's not perfect. So it comes down to you to fix it and prevent this from happening. So how do we do that? Let me demonstrate in the next image how they fix this. So I'm just going to press Command Z, which is edit, undo, edit, undo. So I went back and I'm going to hide this layer and show this other layer. You can just watch me do this part. You don't really have to partake into this particular exercise. The next one you will definitely have to partake. It's one of your like in-class assignments that you have to do with me tonight. So you're going to hand that one in. But this one is just like a show and tell. So you're going to learn how this is done. This one in particular has, you can see the three, teenagers here. Let's call them teenagers. If I do the same thing, edit, content aware scale, notice how this one doesn't do a good job because the background is too complex with the pixels and the colors, and it just really, really poorly scales the people that are in the background. So if I press enter, you can see this is a really, really terrible job here, right? It wasn't as good as the first one. The first one wasn't bad, but it had a few glitches. This one was really, really bad. So this technique did not work at all whatsoever. And the reason is because sometimes the complexity of the image, the pixels, the way it's perceived by the algorithm in the software, the artificial intelligence that's being used. So one way to avoid this and control it from happening is using channels. So channels is a more advanced method of using the software. I remember my days when I first used Photoshop, layers were just introduced. Before that, there was only channels. Layers did not even exist. So think about using Photoshop in channel mode because it's all about selections, saving selections, loading selections, and doing everything progressively from an art direction, point of view. Just like traditional design was made, like cutting and pasting images. So if you make a mistake, it's not as forgiving as it is today. Today you can just move a layer, delete a layer, edit a layer. It's a lot more forgiving than it was 30 years ago, right? So using this channel method, and channels are very powerful and advanced. I'll show you other advanced ways to integrate channels in Photoshop to save like alpha channels. things like movies and stuff, titles, transparency settings in InDesign, Illustrator. All these things are powerful because you can embed channels into the Photoshop files. So wherever you take the file after, it'll embed the channel with it. So let's just take channels from the ground up. This is already prepared for you. This is called scale. Notice how it just clicked. What you don't want to do is just click on the visible. Okay, this will give you like this red thing, like a mask. And you also don't want to do this kind of stuff either, because this will really kind of mess up the preview in Photoshop. So avoid clicking on the visibles. Strictly click on the channel that's on the bottom here, like scale channel. And this was pre-made for you. It was made by, I guess, the file developer for this exercise, and they made an alpha channel saved selection, which was integrated into this file here, and it's hidden. Notice how I have to select it to show you. Otherwise, you won't notice it's there unless you go here and click on it. And most beginners that use Photoshop, maybe you perhaps weren't aware of this, but channels is where the real power of Photoshop kind of it derives from. So if you go to channels here, click on the scale, I'll go back to RGB, you can identify it first. If you go to layers, okay, one way to integrate the power of channels is to, when you go to edit, in this case, content aware scale, okay, which is what I did earlier, right? So in order to get this, this bad, transformation, what we're going to do this time is we're going to look up here in the properties and protect scale. Now, I want you to really pay attention to this because you're probably going to think it's like a technical thing. Scale means scale. No, it doesn't. Scale means is the name of the channel. It's called scale. I'm going to rename this teens. Teens, okay? And if I go back again to edits, content aware scale, protect teens. So see, it notices and locates the channel that's affiliated with the document. So all I have to do is select this alpha channel called teens, and we all know what this looks like. The teens are kind of highlighted in white, which is like a saved selection, and the alpha channel is called teens. What happens now is when you do this, the teens are protected. It's like frozen pixels. So no matter what you do, it's not going to distort the teens. A very powerful technique that's it's like a hidden gem in the program, and you can do this all on your own by preparing these alpha channels, which I'll show you also how to do. Now, right now I'm just showing you how powerful this thing is and to pay attention to it. If you overdo it, of course, look, I mean, it'll still protect them right until the end, you see, eventually when it's too squished, but right up until here, it'll protect it, all right? So if you want to partake in this exercise, you can do this part with me just to teach you how to do an alpha channel. Because I think a good way to demonstrate this is on the first one, because the first one doesn't have any alpha channels to help it. Only this one exists. We're going to make one for the hand over here. I won't bother with this one. I know that one was also flaw, but let's just do this one for now because we noticed first we can identify the problem. So let's again do edit, content aware scale. Let's do this and let's do this. Let's press enter, zoom in, and we can see the problem. Oh, didn't happen this time. For some reason, it didn't happen. And I didn't really do anything to help it out. But let me just press undo again. So maybe I got lucky this time. Usually it does do a bad job. You saw the first one, right? It didn't really work well. Let me try it again here. Oh, I know why it didn't. Content over scale. Because this was set to teens. Honestly, should not work because randomly it's like a fluke. You don't want to rely on chance. You want to make sure you do it right. So the teens could, because it's an area here, it just captured the hand and protected it. But I'll tell you right now, other parts were probably distorted. So don't always rely on, luck. Okay, sometimes you have to create your own destiny, right? So let me show you how to do this because I'll do it again. So here we go. Pretend that's not even there because we don't even have an alpha channel. The problem is when you do this with AI, it'll mess up the hands all the time and the arm here, right? So let's see how we can prevent this from happening. So the way to create your own alpha channel, not relying on what's here, or you might not even have anything, is simply zoom into the target. So we identify the problem, we see the area of the hand, and maybe even, this hand as well. Well, we'll just do one for now. We're going to select a layer. Okay, we're going to go to quick mask because we learned quick masking in the previous example. So we'll press Q for quick mask mode, B for brush. Okay, so we have a brush tool selected. We'll have a quick mask. We'll make the brush a little bigger. We're going to zoom into the hand, and we're going to target the hand and protect the area that way it was mishandled. So basically, we're going to select the hand nice and gentle, just like that. Maybe I'll go up to the arm just to make sure. Looks like she has red gloves on, right? Okay, zoom out. All right, so now that I made a quick mask of the area that was distorted, I'm able to now preserve those pixels, create an alpha channel, save it, and apply it into my content aware scale operation. So again, all you have to do is go to quick mask, press Q, remember Q, quick mask mode, right? And also, if you notice, I'm selecting the background, not the hand. So you might have to do select inverse. As a matter of fact, you have to do select inverse. This way, as you can see here clearly, the hand is selected. So Q quick mask mode, painted the hand with the brush, press Q again, exit a quick mask mode, inverse the selection, and now it's time to create the alpha channel. How do you make an alpha channel? You go under the select menu and you do what's called save selection. When you save a selection, you're saving an alpha channel. A very powerful technique that, that's stemmed earlier in the early years of Photoshop, even when Photoshop first started in the late 80s, early 90s. Alpha channels were like the main thing. They still are till today. So if you know layers and you don't know alpha channels, you really don't know Photoshop because you have to know alpha channels as well. So let's go ahead and save the selection. We're going to call this, hand or right hand. Okay. You give it a name so you can identify it. The document that's affiliated is the same one, which is this document here. So you don't have to do anything. You're going to create a new alpha channel. Okay. You're going to give it a name. So it's going to be new by default. You're going to press OK. And then you're going to deselect the selection. Just deselect or just press Command D. So it's no longer selected. Now to clearly show you what happened there, I'm going to go to channels. Look at this. There's the teens. There's the right hand. Look, it's nice and white, highlighted. Whatever we saved became an alpha channel. That means if we're going to perform the operation of content aware scale, and we're going to protect the right hand, it should not distort those pixels. Let's go ahead and see if this holds true. I'm going to go ahead and do it now. Let's see here. Should just plug my laptop in to charge it. Just remember, when you're doing this kind of stuff, always click back on the RGB channel, because channels like this, the red channel, green channel, blue channel, that's how the image is set up into different channels. It's a great representation because that's how colors are perceived in Photoshop. And when you click on the RGB, all the colors get kind of amalgamated and it shows you a preview. And the channel is located here. So you're clicking only on this side. Do not, I repeat, avoid clicking on the visibles because this can really cause like a weird type of visual effect. And it's for labs and stuff, you don't really have to do this. So please, try to restrain from doing that. Either click here or there. And usually you click here on the RGB, make sure they're all visible, and you're right to normal mode. Let's go back to layers. And let's go to these videos here, right? Let's go to edit content aware scale. Okay. Like I said, we're going to scale this and do this, right? But like I said before, if we don't protect the right channel, it's going to give us this very bad, poorly AI executed transformation. So to get this to look proper, we're going to do, again, the edit content aware scale, only this time we're going to protect the right hand. Oh, did I? Total typo here. That's what happens when I have one coffee today. Right hand, okay. So a right hand, okay. So he's gonna select that channel here. But again, it goes to show you how even if you misspell it, it still works because it doesn't care how you spell it as long as you can identify it. So right hand, okay, let's do it now. Press enter. And you can see here clearly how the hand is fine. I noticed this other part. I should have went a little higher. Notice how I went up to here. Next time I'll keep it in mind to go higher and also protect this hand too. So technically, I mean, I could go back and fix it, but I'm just going to spend more time. But you get the idea, right? As long as you protect the areas, maybe I should have went higher and did this arm as well. That's how you can protect these areas from getting distorted. So nice trick to remember, using alpha channels, creating alpha channels, saving selections, applying them here, and this is how you do it. All right, very good. Perfect. And if I really want to do like a show off thing, honestly, I can just really do, just to quickly show you because it is bothering me that I missed it. Load selection, okay, watch this. Do it really quickly here. Right hand, press OK. Quick mask mode, actually let's do inverse. Quick mask mode, go back, press the brush, get all the hand here. Okay, so I can really go back, just to show you how you can fix the load selections. Go back over here. Okay. Even if you go over like this, it's fine. Honestly, even this will work. You don't have to be that specific, right? So I went back, I loaded the selection, press Q, inverse, save selection again. Whoops. So load means you're loading a selection. You can load a selection on the document. Save selections means you're saving it into the alpha channel state. We're going to call this ARM2, okay? Deselect. Let's go back to channels. I got ARM2 now. So right hand, ARM2. Let's get rid of right hand because it was no good, right? Oops, delete doesn't work. You literally have to go click on the little garbage can and delete it. So ARM2 is loaded. Okay, very good. Let's go back to layers. I think I deleted the layer by accident when I pressed delete, so I got to be careful when I do that. ARM, right hand, delete. All right. So let's go back here again. Edit, content aware scale, protect, ARM2. Remember, I revised the selection very quickly, back and forth. Press enter. Perfect. Okay, so just because it did these little extra steps, I was able to preserve those areas. And this is how you can actually perfect your selections and, you know, kind of assist AI into doing a better job by integrating alpha channels. All right, I'm going to save this now as well. We're going to do a save as. This will be saved as, maybe I'll do finished underscore done. Okay, this will be saved in the Photoshop channel, Photoshop file, I should say, and that's done. All right, so I hope you learned something new with this technique, and it's gonna give you that much more capabilities with AI assist in these alpha channel settings. All right, I'm gonna pause again, close the file, and ask if you have any questions. And if you don't, we'll get into the third and final exercise, and then I'm gonna save some time to show you some of the student examples as well. So let me see if you have any questions. All right, any questions, anyone? This is being recorded, by the way, so when you watch the lessons that I have loaded up on the YouTube channel, you can always watch this. Like I said, I'm going to try to load these videos up this week So you can watch the actual video that I recorded with us, not the video that I recorded from the last semester, which is, again, it's the same thing. Sometimes I answer different questions from different students, and it's good to keep it in line with us. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so going once, going twice. Any questions? All right, no questions. Let's keep going. Okay. All right, I'm just going to mute. I guess the chat doesn't work because it's set up for if you want to like type me a message, you can always use the main window here, the meeting. You can always do a chat here if you want. Okay. Um, but if you want, you can just speak. It's probably easier, or just message me with Blackboard if you have like a specific questions or request. Okay, it's the best way to do it. All right, let's go ahead and open up the final one. So this one is using the content-aware scale and selections technique, very powerful, using alpha channels. And we're going to now go to the next one. This is your actual assignment, okay? So this one, as I do it together with you, we're going to perform some CSI. Photoshop is quite widely used even in the crime investigation unit. I remember even like when they look at footage and cameras, they try to clarify the pixels. When it's blurry, they sharpen them and stuff. A lot of filters are used for, crimes, investigations, even putting evidence together. So let's say this was something that happened, a destroyed evidence or a photo that looks like this. Your job may be to put it together as a whole piece. And how do you do this? By utilizing the same techniques you learned with me in the past few weeks. And we're going to put this thing together, and you're going to submit this as one of your in-class assignments. So once I'm done the lesson today, I'm going to give you time to get this done. And honestly, this is due next week. So you have a whole week to get this done. It should honestly not take you more than 10, 15, even 20 minutes. Okay. So bear with me. We're going to do this together, and you're going to hand this in after. So this is all just to kind of show you quickly where it's located under our class here. Class exercises and assignments. This is the photo restoration. So due date is the end of the month. I like to give you a week because some of you want to practice the techniques. I mean, I could have it due today, but I'm gonna maybe stress you out, and some of you are tired. It's late at night. I'll give you a good week to practice. All right. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and open this up here, the photo restoration. So for this exercise, you are to restore a torn up photograph, which is the one I have there, and assemble it together using a variety of selection tools learned in class. So you are going to use the tools that we used last week in conjunction with some of the quick mask methods I introduced this week. So it's going to be a good little, call it a overall review so far. And we'll like to do reviews from time to time just to reiterate stuff you've been taught and things that I shared with you in the lessons. You'll have time to do this near the end of the class, or during the week. Like I said, you have a week. The file is attached with this note below. Good luck and have fun. This is the same file that I have located in here. Okay, so it's the same document. So you can use either that one or just download this one. This one, if you click here and you download it, just to make sure it's the same file. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's open it up. There it is. All right, so how will you put this together all on your own? Let me just be, without me assisting you, because I always, help you and show you how things are done, of course. And this is, why you have me here teaching you, right? But I'm curious to see how many of you can do this all on your own, even right now, with the knowledge that you have. Let me just see quickly, hands up. I'm just curious to see how your knowledge base is going progressing so far? How many of you, keep your hand up, I'm not even there yet. How many of you think that you can do this all on your own without my help? All right. I have a couple of hands up. Very good. I love the confidence. Very good. All right. So I'm sure most of you, some of other, more of you feel like that. It's just maybe, you want me to show you anyways, which I will. So don't worry. Even all of you raise your hand up, I'm still gonna. Well, maybe if all of you raise your hands, I'll just say fine, do it. But if I have a handful of you raising your hands, I still have to cover the rest of the class. So good to see the confidence level in some of you. I like that. You can go ahead and start if you want, but you can watch me also and learn some other new tips along the way. So let's go ahead and do it. All right. So as I said, this is a very popular technique you're going to learn, not just to do creative stuff and stuff I showed you earlier, but how do you actually put a ripped photo back together? And maybe this has happened to you sometimes. I know I have some photos that I destroyed and ripped. I mean, I know it's a lot of work. You have to scan it or take a picture of it, digitize it, and then use the methods I'm going to show you right now to put it back together. You can do this with even other documents, not necessarily photographs. So it's a really, really, important technique in real life, not just to be on the creative side, but more on the technical side. All right, so I'm going to focus on some of the tools we learned last week with the melon exercise. That may entail the magnetic lasso tool. This one will work really well because there's a lot of natural shapes here. Obviously the rectangular elliptical won't work because everything is custom here. So this would be a one I would recommend, the magnetic lasso. The other tool I would recommend, it would be the quick selection tool. So between these two tools, we're going to get the whole thing assembled. Of course, to aid us into the completion of this will also be the move tool. So the move tool, to move these around, renaming the layers, reconstructing them, and putting them together. Now, some students were as far as doing even some retouching techniques. Fine if you want to do that, not really necessary, but I'm going to teach you some of those techniques later on in the semester. So for now, we're going to focus on the magnetic lasso tool, okay, and the quick selection tool. Let's start with the magnetic first. I'm going to focus on this top left corner piece. I'm going to start right in the corner here, click once, follow my mouse, click periodically, like maybe here, kind of rest your hand, click again right here. I'm not holding the mouse. I'm just following this little quick little area here. Okay, and I'm using a mouse, not a trackpad. I'm gonna go click. Notice how I clicked on the corner because I'm starting a new angle. So I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna click again just in case. Click again. Click again. Click again right here. It's the corner. Follow it along. Click again over here. And click all the way here. Notice you have a little 0. 0 means you're exactly at the starting point because you finish what you start. So you click right here and your selection is established. Now it might not be perfect, okay? So that this is when you press Q, you do quick mask mode and you can fix the actual areas that you missed. You don't have to inverse it, you can just leave it like this because I kind of like the contrast. So then I would just zoom in, okay? And use the brush tool, B for brush, and maybe perhaps fix the areas that I missed. Maybe this, see this should be like not red. So I'm gonna press X, bring the white on top of the foreground color, hold shift and click all the way down here. So basically I will omit this area being selected. Maybe get some of these other parts. There's a part over here. I'll press X here and just maybe clean this up a little bit. All right. And to get this, I'll just click Shift Select, draw a nice straight line, follow it along. And you can really, really hone in on this and do a good job. This, it picked up some of this stuff here. I'll press X. Maybe I'll get some of this stuff here, right? Some of this stuff over here. If this was a real professional job, you're gonna have to maybe spend an hour doing this one piece, honestly, because that's how, crime investigation unit wants every piece of information. All right, so let's just say that's finished. What we do now is we press Q, go back to standard mode. We have the selected area right now. We have the layer selected, which is here. We simply do copy and paste, or remember the shortcut from last week, Command J. We didn't use Command J today, so might as well use it now. Command J, and this became a separate extracted item on a separate layer. I'm going to call this based on the location, so I'm going to call it top left. Top left meaning it's the top left corner. If I hide the background, you'll notice how this now is a floating piece by itself. So top left corner, okay, I'm just going to move it in the corner here up here, so it's kind of separated. So if I activate the background, I'll clearly see that this is extracted by itself. All right, very good. Let's go ahead and get a next piece now. So I'm going to make this visible, select the layer, hide the top layer, make sure this is set up properly. Let's do the next one. Now, I know I stressed the magnetic lasso tool, so if you like, you can keep using that for the whole thing, but it's good to mix it up a bit. So let me just do it one more time just to show you, because some of you might get frustrated with this tool, especially if it starts acting up. Let's just say it does this on you. Let's just say like, oh, how do I stop this? Has this happened to you before? So one way to fix this problem is to press escape. If you press escape on the keyboard, it'll just reset the tool. So that's one way to escape it. All right, so if I try it again, I click on the corner here, follow along. If you have a steady hand and a good mouse, this should work really nicely. You just have to stick with the edges. The magnetic lasso tool is able to differentiate the pixels. So any contrasting pixels between what I'm targeting and what the background is, in this case, like the light blue and the other colors that are associated, it's able to kind of pick them up and isolate them as I'm tracing this nicely selected piece. Okay, just like that. And right where I started, I saw a little zero. I connected the dots. I pressed Q for the final analysis. I get to zoom in. I saw a little area that I missed over here. Okay, so I'm going to fix that with the brush. Simply just take it away, or vice versa. If I have an area that I didn't add, I'm going to do that. Maybe some of the parts over here, right? And you can just simply hold the space bar and do a whole analysis and fix this up accordingly. Okay, I'm going to zoom out. Now that's all done, I'm going to exit. See, quick mask mode is really useful, and today we're kind of focusing on quick masking. So press Q again. See, Q goes back and forth between quick mask and selection mode. Make sure you're in the proper layer, otherwise you won't get the selection to work properly. Command J, which is copy and paste. This will be called top right. I spelled right this time. Go to the move tool and simply move this up to this area here, so it's extracted. If I hide the background layer, you'll notice my two pieces are pretty much side by side, which at this point you could start assembling them together, and I'll teach you some other constructive ways of doing this. One is let's start with this one. If you press edit, free transform, right? Instead of doing this, right, you could reset the registration. This is the middle is usually in the center, but if you position this in the corner, what you're doing is you're anchoring this target to basically rotate itself on that axis. So you can basically go ahead and do this, and I'm just guiding it by the background here. Press enter, click on this image, and because I'm clicking like this, because I have auto select layer on, you can click this layer, or you can select the layer this way. Make sure this is enabled. If you have an older version, this might not be selected, because if this is not selected, you can't always select the right layer. So make sure this is on so you can click on the layer that you want to select. Let's move this in the corner here, right? So I'm attaching this piece. I'm going to do Command T or edit, free transform. This time I move the registration where these pieces meet, which is this exact coordinate right here. I'm going to go to the opposite corner and simply move this back into play like that. press enter, and I can use the direction keys on my keyboard to nudge the layer, like left, left, up, up, down, down. So you can really, really perfectly position this in the right area. And you can see how this is coming along nicely, and I'm able to reconstruct this photo. Now I use the magnetic tool for these two, so now I'm going to switch it to the other one, my other favorite. This is another good one here. I'm going to hide these two layers. Always make sure the background layer is selected. This time I'll switch it to the the quick selection tool in conjunction with my quick mask tool. So I'm just going to go ahead and start from here. Just click and drag the mouse, all the way like this, right? Click and drag the mouse. Press Q to see if all the areas are covered. Zoom in, B for brush. Get the parts that you're not supposed to select here, like this. Do a little, you can get the little ripped edges if you want. See how I missed some of these torn edges? Maybe not really necessary because it's the white part of the paper, so I don't really care about that much. This part I don't want, so I'm just going to take out. Right? So you can be your own judge of this, right? But just do your best to get the proper pixels. Okay. After it's all said and done, I'll press Q, back to standard mode, Command J, which is copy and paste. This will be called bottom right. Make all these visible. Bring this up over here. I'm going to anchor it on this corner where it meets this image. So by pressing Command T or Control T, I reposition the anchor tool here, or the registration, and simply just pop this back where it's supposed to be, like that. Press enter, and I'm ready to proceed with the next one. All right, so I got two to go. I might as well, so I'm on a roll here. Might as well just finish it, right? So I'm going to go to the background layer again. Here's the other piece. Go back to the quick selection tool. Select it like that. Press Q. Maybe make this a little smaller. Oops, B for brush, don't forget that part. X to change it from black and white. Q, Command J for copy and paste. This will be bottom middle or bottom center, whatever. Okay, so this will be now in line with the other images here. I'm going to put this over here. This one I can just kind of freeform it. Maybe I'll put it on top of this image. Press Command T. I mean, I could do the positioning this way, so it's a little more in line with it. Right, so this is something that I'm going to work with, right? So there you go, like the rails aligned and the steps and everything else. All right, so I think I got one more. Let's go back to the leftover here. One other integral piece of the puzzle. This is a puzzle too. You can solve it. Click and drag the mouse. Press Q. So you notice how it's not picking up these areas. So you got to be very, very careful here. Shift click is one good way to keep that straight in line. Little piece over here. And I think I'm good to go with this one. Q, quick mask mode, got the selection here. Copy and paste, which is Command J. Hide the background layer. I'm gonna call this bottom left. I got bottom right, bottom left, bottom middle, top left, top right. All the layers assembled properly. I'll move this in place over here. Perhaps I'll move it this way, where the railing like lines up. I'll do Command T, and I can anchor this over here. And simply move this way. So, like controlling the anchor points vital to this. Otherwise, you're gonna have a harder time aligning this image. And maybe some more nudges here and there, I'm able to get this all perfected. But once it's all said and done, this is the final piece. Okay, I'm gonna select all these layers together. I'm just gonna group them right now by pressing Command G or right click group. This is how you group layers. Grouping layers is important because then you can keep them together. Unlike Illustrator, this makes it like a folder. So does Illustrator, actually. If you group objects, if you notice, if you go to the Layers panel, all you made is a folder with a bunch of objects grouped together. It's the same thing in a way. Make sure you change this to auto select group instead of layer, so it moves the whole thing together. Because if auto select layer instead of group, it'll basically extract the piece. So be very careful when you toggle this back and forth. So this is a good little feature if you haven't really used it that much. Auto select group. Another thing is you want to go to the crop tool. I'm going to crop the image this way. Press enter. And I'm ready to save this as a finished piece. So I'm going to do a save as. Torn underscore done. I'll save this onto the folder as well. And off it goes. So this is due, you can get it over with today if you want, or tonight, or you can finish it for next week. I want you to practice these techniques, especially the selection tools, and hand this in as one of your in-class assignments. All right. Any questions so far? I try to pause here and there when I finish each one, or in the middle sometimes. If it's a lengthy one, I'll pause in the middle. Feel free to speak if you want to have a question. You can always kind of say something, get my attention. I don't mind. You're not really interrupting me. You're asking a question, so it's okay. Or just raise your hand. I can see your little icon here as well. Okay, any questions, anyone? This is pretty clear, straightforward. Okay, very good. Okay, so make sure that's all done and submitted. Everything is here under your, class exercises, photo restoration. There's 3 more to go. Okay, those will be later. Like I like to spread them out. So this one will be due like, 2 weeks from now, and then another one to do, 4 or 5 weeks from now, then one in the middle and near the end there. So you got 5 total of these in-class assignments that we're going to do. So I like to spread them out. The first 2 are coming right off the bat. I mean, look, next week's already going to be week 4, then week 5. So we're kind of moving through the semester. So they're nicely spread out that way. The projects are nicely spread out too. You have another one due like later on. Now the movie poster project. So don't forget the movie poster. Okay, that's something you want to start. This is the big one that you want to really start thinking about. All right. Far as the lesson for today, we finished all the tutorials that was supposed to be presenting to you. So hopefully I did a good job and you learned a lot from this. We covered a lot of important grounds. So make sure you do all that. Go ahead, Deepali, if you have any questions.
What all submissions do we have to do like today?
So you can hand this in today, exactly what I just did right now, but I'm giving you like a week.
Just the ripped photo, right?
The rip photo, yeah, that's the only one.
Under photo restoration.
Yes, that one, yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Again, if you're not sure, just go to Blackboard, okay? If I'm you, I would always go to my calendar, okay? Go to like month view and see what's due. Today's the 24th. Next week, photo restoration, Photoshop class. Another one, something else is due for my other class, and another thing. So a lot of things that are due will show up here. You click, you scroll, you click again, and you can see exactly what's due, okay? If you're not sure. So this is photo restoration due next week. All right. What else was I supposed to do today before we finish for the lesson? Deepali, go. I think you're okay now. And you can lower your hand, that's fine. I was supposed to show you some student demos, right? For the movie poster. So let's have a few look at those. Maybe you can see what other students have done. And maybe this will give you some motivation for the project that's coming up. And I hope you're going to find these motivating. So let me go ahead and show you. my last semester's movie posters. All right. Now, before I do that, I mean, let's look at movie posters in general. If you look at the history of movie posters, let me just put this one away here. You know, movie posters, right? And you can see a lot of these blockbuster hits. This is a billion-dollar industry, of course. You know, all these movie posters are iconic. Some of them are very, very traditional. A lot of them you probably recognize from the past. But see, you want to also challenge your Photoshop skills, you know. So how do you challenge your Photoshop skills? Because a lot of these look like they're Photoshopped. I know some posters are simple and you can just do like a quick little Illustrator typography thing with white space. But this is a Photoshop project. So you want to make sure you incorporate all your Photoshop skills and bring this forward. This, for example, looks nicely Photoshopped here, the Black Widow poster, okay? You can see a lot of these Marvel, these epic movies, you know, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter's, they're all epic, right? So if you look at some of these, right, from the background to the images, this is all Photoshopped from the typography, okay, to everything that comes together. You want to make it look authentic as possible, okay? Even something like this, okay? Even Jaws was Photoshop back in the days, right? Although it's a little more, it's like, you know, more than 40 years old now. But the Avengers movies are always nicely done with the Photoshop techniques, right? Back to the Future. I think there's a new sequel coming out this year too. Some more Avengers. Like this is your classic Photoshop stuff. Like no other program in the world can do this but Photoshop. So you really want to take it to the next level. This is the kind of stuff you want to do for the project. Even something like this. Okay, something like that. So you can see I just typed in movie posters, I Googled it, and I got all kinds of different amazing Photoshop montage techniques, right? So this is what you want to go after. Even if it's like a simple poster, you still want to apply your Photoshop skills, okay? We're going to cover some more stuff next week and the week after. So hopefully I'm going to give you some more tools for you to work with. But right now, I mean, already you can start, you know, downloading images, getting your theme ready, your composition, your planning. It's important. Here, movie poster. Here, sketches. Okay, because a lot of designers like to use sketches. Okay, this is how they plan the movie poster. Even if you're not an artist, you can kind of start doing your planning by sketching or doing some thumbnails on ideas on how to do this, right? Like you can see how these artists use sketches. Here, let me just do some concepts or drawing concepts, right? So you can see a lot of this stuff is kind of planned this way. A lot of the like the thumbnails and some of the stuff that they do, a lot of traditional artists, you put on paper first. It's different when you put on paper, you think differently with your brain because your hand, you're all connected in one and you can flow nicely together by creating like an illustration, like see Nightmare Before Christmas, for example. So there's the thumbnail and there's the finished product. So it's a lot easier to channel your creativity when you do like a rendering or a thumbnail, even if it's simple like black and white. You don't have to be a good illustrator to do this. Enough is just to get the thought, your point of thought across, and then you get into the digital world and you put it together. Okay, so I always encourage students to do this, whether you're doing like a logo or a business card or a brochure or a poster or anything in that nature. Always use your sketches. So I'd love to see your preliminaries or your thought process, so make sure you give me some of those as well. That is part of your criteria, so we'll update some of the points there. I know it doesn't really say that, but I will put some what's called like a, basically we'll call it the planning phase, okay, or the rough idea or the rough sketch. All right, so I do encourage you to do that. All right, So next, let me show you some of my previous students, what they've done with this. All right, so let me just go to my Humber folder here, my 23 folder, my Photoshop. Let me see, where's my students? I think I was cleaning my hard drive, and some of these files were not here. Let me plug my hard drive in very quickly. I will take one moment here to do this. Give me a second. There we go. All right, let me just quickly load my hard drive here. I'll go to my Humber folder. I should copy these over. Just, there's so much storage space only allowed, and the cloud's a little slow, so I like to use a hard drive for this stuff. Let's see. So let's go to the 23 here. Photoshop. What was it? Projects. Give me 1 second here. Projects. Okay, I found some here. So this is 2023. Some of the movie posters are here. Okay, so I got a good group of students here that were submitting their movie posters. So here we go. So let's start with some of these here. Some of them are, not as, complex as you might think, depending on the, let me see here. All right, so there's, I think he used like real images to put this together. All right, so he made a movie poster like that. I think my space bar might take too long. Oh, there we go, it's coming along now. All right, so a lot of these, even anime posters work fine. Like these are all like illustrations put together in a montage to create a Castlevania poster. This was an old video game, I think, that they had. All right, here's another one over here. Final Fantasy, another video game. Okay, and this was well put together using some Photoshop techniques and skills. All right, and here's another one over here. The Professional. This was an actual movie. Leon, The Professional. A lot of different glass and shatter effects that were included here as well. Oh, this one I have to open. All right, here's another one here. Star Wars Destiny. Can't never get bored of watching Star Wars posters. Minions poster. Okay. Deadpool 3, the movie. Here's another one over here. There's a Narnia movie poster that was done as well. The Big Short. There's another one. Notice how the typographies makes the poster, like the right use of typography, contrast, images, um, um, layer blends, which is something I'll get into next week as well. So I'll teach you some of these layer blend techniques. It'll really help you with the overall production of the poster. Okay, even like using icons like voice. The microphone was made in Illustrator, brought into the typography here with the title. Right. Here's another one over here. Oppenheimer, this one just came out when they did it, like last year in the summertime. Although this was done in the fall. I think I have two Oppenheimer projects. Another good one here, done with a lot of Photoshop images here. We'll put together under this one silhouette kind of design, and that formed the actual construction together. Ready? So another one over here. This one had some fun with the pets and stuff. All right, here's another one here. Willy Wonka. That was a lot of background design work that was done. All right, so here's another one over here. Just gonna keep going here, guys. Super Mario Galaxy poster. Notice how some of the characters are colorized and some are desaturated. Nice, cool little effect to kind of bring in some contrast or color. Okay, here's another one over here. So you can see a lot of my students had fun doing this one, and I'd love to collect. I'm a movie poster collector now, and I'm sure when you're done, I'm gonna have more collections or more pieces added to my collection. All right, so this is another one over here. Nicely done, very good. I love how this has a lot of different contrasting color elements. Here's another one over here. Another one. And another Oppenheimer. This is the second Oppenheimer. It was a very popular movie last year. A lot of students embarked the journey to make that happen. There's another one well done. I love this one, how it was kind of designed within the facial targeting area, and there's like a whole image projected within, focusing on that character. Very nice. There's Money Heist, that Netflix show. You can do a lot of the Netflix shows too. Like there's a lot of cool shows that are coming up next year as well. So if there's something really captures your attention, nice Avatar remake they did there as well, you can definitely bring your poster to life. And of course, the Fast and the Furious. All right, so this was my last cohort. You see I have like 35 different items here. If I do open up one of these, just to show you, this is the Photoshop file, show you the level of detail and work that entails here. Don't forget to group your folders. Notice how this one is kind of like all over the place, like the credits are here. There's the snow effect. There's some of the typography stuff, right? There's some of the, awards and stuff. There's some of the folders here. So like you have the, like this is the main design that was put in a folder. And in that folder, there's all these different effects, you see? How the student was able to demonstrate all these different layer blends, layer masks we're gonna cover next week as well, okay? Some of the color correction values, right? So in a nutshell, this whole thing, has at least a dozen plus layers to get this done. And a lot of them did the same type of thing that you're gonna be doing to create this poster. All right, so that's pretty much what you have to do for this next project. So hope you're gonna have some fun. Let's see if you guys are enthusiastic about this. So let me see how you feel about this. Let me get some hands up if you guys love this movie poster idea. All right, so I hope you guys are excited. All right, so everyone's excited about the movie poster. Very good. All right. And how many of you have ideas already on what you're gonna do? All right, well, I just gave it to you today, so maybe I didn't expect you to have ideas yet. But for next week, if you can, it'd be nice to get an idea and maybe even put it on paper, get some brainstorming done, and put this project forward. And I'm sure you'll have lots of fun. And I'm also looking forward to add some more pieces to my collection. All right, so having said all that, I think we're gonna be finished for the evening. Let me see if you have any questions before I wrap it up. And I'm gonna wave goodbye and let you go. And maybe perhaps you can get this assignment done that's due next week, or you can just do it whenever you feel like it. That's fine too. All right, so any questions? Going once, going twice. All righty. So it's been fun. Time flies, eh? 2 hours already passed. We're done. Sometimes we finish a little earlier, sometimes we finish a little later, depending on the length of the lesson. But we did a very, very constructive class today. Hope you enjoyed it. Nice to see everyone back, and I'll see you in the next lesson. So have a good week ahead, and bye for now. Okay, take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good
Bye.
night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.